Welcome to the Hudson Show. Coming up, a beloved store is getting its own reality show.
And how can gaming help you become gainfully employed?
All that and more on the way next. Always remember this. If something can be turned into meat, there's someone who will eat it. In this case, it's raccoon. Did you know that, I guess, what do you mean, did you know? Anything that if it's an animal, it can be meat, which means it can be edible. And most of us probably wouldn't have thought to eat raccoon. But in Germany, one butcher has become very popular because he is the first one to start selling raccoon sausage meatballs. The raccoons, much like in the United States, in Germany, they can be quite a pest. And so people have been encouraged to hunt them and use their fur or whatever. But nobody's ever thought, what if we eat this? Until Michael Reese came along, who is a hunter and butcher in northeast Germany. He got permission from the authorities to start turning the raccoons that have been such pests into raccoon meatballs. And now I started selling them, and apparently they're pretty popular.
Yeah, it seems like it. I think it's hilarious that he obviously went through the right track of like checking to see if he could do this.
You definitely don't want to be the butcher that got shut down or a mark on your report
right.
for selling raccoon. That's not gonna, if you just are out front about it, that's a much better strategy.
Yeah, the health inspector comes and shuts you down for selling raccoon meat. But no, he went through the right people and got approval for this from the local officials, because what he said was apparently there's an overpopulation problem in Germany too with raccoons. We all know here as Americans that we have that problem as well. But he says he just kept seeing people discard whenever raccoons were taken care of as pests, they would just be discarded in the trash. And so that's kind of what inspired him to do this. He's like, hey, this is all going to waste.
Yeah, you can't have use every part of the buffalo, right? We can't have this stuff go to waste. So would you eat a raccoon ball?
I'd try it.
I would too, but I've always said I'll try anything, especially any meat.
Yeah.
But raccoon, of course, I would taste it, but I would have a hard time. I just don't know if I could, even if it was great, if I could keep going back to this guy's butcher shop and getting the raccoon meat, because it's the first animal I can think of that you would eat that's cute. Like what other?
Yeah.
I don't think any other animal that I've tasted or routinely eaten would I consider cute. And so I think I would have a hard time mentally with the raccoon.
Yeah, it'd be like, you got to get the picture of Rocky out of your head before you can eat it. Yeah, no, that's a good point. I've never had raccoon before, but I have had deer and I have had squirrel. So I think squirrel would maybe for me beat the cuteness meter of a raccoon, where I'd be like, oh no, they're cute though.
You think squirrels are cuter than raccoons?
Some of them, yeah. They're just like so cute.
Yes, that was a great impression. All right, I wouldn't have. I think raccoons are cuter, but
okay.
Agree to disagree. I don't think you were around yet for this, but earlier this year on the Hudson Show, we discussed how one of the biggest French fry manufacturers in the United States, closing down one of its plants where they make fries, and claimed that demand for fries has gone down in the United States, which explained why they were closing one of their plants. It seemed so believable at the time. Now it turns out that may have all been a part of a ruse, of a cover-up, because now not only that fry manufacturer, Lamb Weston, but the other Mount Rushmore of fry manufacturers, McCain Foods, Cavendish Farms, and J.R. Simplot are being accused. They're literally being they're the subject of a class action lawsuit where they are accused of conspiring to artificially raise the price of frozen French fries, hash browns, and tater tots across the United States.
Ooh.
What's worse than a monopoly? A quadopoly where all four members are in cahoots.
They're all working together.
Yeah, they're all in bed together, working hand in hand to bilk us Americans out of money simply because we love fries.
Yeah, this is also, it gets worse though. Not only is it the four big companies, as we said, the Mount Rushmore of potato companies, but also it's the National Potato Promotion Board that's a part of these class action lawsuits. There's 2 that were filed in U.S. District Court this week. So big potatoes really coming for us.
Literally, the National Potato Promotion Board is like they're what brought this all together, I'm sure. Like
they're the mastermind.
That's where the meetings happened, and all these agreements. You always do wonder how, who was the one to bring this up, which of the 4, or who was maybe you imagine if it was like the movies, it's some lower level guy, but he has like this strategy, this cockamamie scheme where he's like, I can get ahead. All I need to do, if I can just convince, somebody to listen to me, that we can raise the price of potatoes if we all just work together. And eventually, kind of like a way like the Penguin on Max. Like, he's just this guy scheming, works his way up, and eventually he's the head of the National Potato Promotion Board, and he's turned all of these potato farmer and producer companies all have bent to his will. And now he's the one that's cashing the checks. You
know what? I think I know what this guy looks like. He looks like the character from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. That's like, he's got the crazy board behind him with all the yarn and the string together. And he's just like, listen, let me tell you.
He seemed crazy at the time, but now who's the crazy one? Well, now it sounds like he's going to get brought down. I don't know. I'm sure the National Potato Promotion Board has pretty good lawyers.
Yeah.
So you don't get to this kind of high level crime, potato crime, without having really good lawyers to defend yourself.
I guess not.
And if they need to pay off the judges too, I wouldn't put it past the National Potato Promotion Board. So.
I was nodding along, but I didn't fully understand what you were saying.
I would have put it past them to some shady judges could get, might be getting something under the table. We don't know.
Like, why is the judge eating French fries back there?
We're cutting you off unless it's just a lifetime supply, unless all the potatoes you can imagine, unless you rule us guilty and make us have to pay the American people back for what we've taken from them. Now,
big potato, man, they're out for no good.
It's gonna make it really hard for me to enjoy my hash browns tomorrow morning. If you're spending any of your weekend gaming, good for you. A new study says that gaming can actually be very helpful for your career, which is the only reason to do it, is to play games so that you can be a better worker. This study, it took place over the 20 years, but they've just now completed it and sent it out to everybody. What they found after following 23 gainfully employed workers and gamers, is that enough? 23 for a whole study?
But it's for 20 years of their life.
Yeah, I guess that's meaningful. These are people that started gaming 20 years ago, have been gainfully employed, and continued gaming this entire time. What they found was that the gamers gained skills such as problem solving, teamwork, leadership, and even self-confidence that grew because of their love for gaming.
Interesting. I do think that the whole, correlation of like, oh, they're gamers, so they're lazy, or, they can't work or whatever. They don't have those type of proper skills that they need for a job. I think that's kind of ridiculous. But also, this study is a little skewed, in my opinion, because you are studying 23 gainfully employed employees. Yeah. And so, these gamers are kind of more what I would consider ambitious in general.
Right.
So maybe you should include some people in your study that aren't.
Was this study peer reviewed? Do we know this yet? Because
I don't know.
This is what's the control group?
Right.
We need 4 sections, right? We need gainfully employed gamers, unemployed gamers.
Yep.
Gainfully employed non-gamers and unemployed non-gamers. We need to find out and follow all of those people for 20 years.
Yes.
To see who really is learning problem solving and teamwork and whatnot.
I love that breakdown. That's exactly what we need.
This is not, I don't think this is scientific enough.
Nope. We'll come back 20 years from now, and then we'll have the actual study information to talk about.
And this is us. We're not researchers, but we figured this out. They spent 20 years on this. They spent 20 years of their lives, whatever institute this was. Probably the Institute for Gaming,
Right.
for Call of Duty.
Who came up with this study? No.
Yeah.
The video game companies?
Yeah. Study done by Call of Duty or by Infinity Ward. I don't know.
Infinity Ward.
I don't even know if that's still a thing. I don't know about anything about gaming. No shade to gamers.
I do game. I'm not even going to lie. I do play the occasional game.
What game do you play?
I play The Sims.
That's got to teach you things too. It's got to.
No.
You would not be such a good employee if you didn't play The Sims.
I'm pretty sure it teaches you absolutely nothing.
Get your popcorn ready. It's time for our weekend tradition on the Hudson Show, the weekend watch list, letting you know which movies are new that you could be watching in theaters and sometimes at home. This weekend, a massive weekend for movies. One of the biggest 1-2 punches of new releases of the year. We'll start with Gladiator 2. Years after witnessing the death of Maximus at the hands of his uncle, Lucius must enter the Colosseum after the powerful emperors of Rome conquer his home. With rage in his heart and the future of the empire at stake, he looks to the past to find the strength and honor needed to return the glory of Rome to its people. Gladiator 2 in theaters this weekend.
Ooh.
It has a 71% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Not terrible.
Kyle Smith of the Wall Street Journal says, every element in Gladiator 2 says, how about we try the same things we did before, only not as well?
Oh, no.
Director Ridley Scott wants to be thrilling, but the effort is more palpable than the results. Kyle Smith doesn't sound like a fan. That's a rotten from him.
Yeah, that does sound like a rotten from him, even though it has a fresh score on Rotten Tomatoes. But I'm not surprised. You know, it's definitely like a nostalgia bait type film. So, yeah, they're playing on a lot of the stuff that they did, like 20 years ago at this point? When did that movie come out? 2005?
At least 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Have you seen it, the first one?
Yeah. Yes, first Gladiator, yeah.
Would everyone hate me if I told you guys that I watched the first one but fell asleep?
Oh, no. So you really haven't seen it?
I haven't actually seen it.
Well, I think it's a good movie.
I'm sure. I mean, yeah, they're making a sequel about it like 25 years later.
20-some years later.
Took them long enough. All right. Maybe that's not for you. Maybe instead you want to see Wicked, new in theaters this weekend. Misunderstood because of her green skin, a young woman named Alphaba forges an unlikely but profound friendship with Glinda, a student with an unflinching desire for popularity. Following an encounter with the Wizard of Oz, their relationship soon reaches a crossroads as their lives begin to take very different paths. You want to guess how the Rotten Tomato score is for Wicked
I
now?
I don't know what it is, but I have a feeling it's good.
It is 90%
Oh!
as of me looking at it right now. However, Brett McCracken of the Gospel Coalition says the songs and costumes are fun, the vibes are pleasant, but the moral ideas, however well-intentioned, are ultimately incoherent and unhelpful. Wicked 2. No, thank you, sir.
It's not Wicked 2. It's just Wicked.
Yeah, Wicked. They're already making a Wicked 2. Gladiator 2, maybe. Wicked, what was that?
No. That's the sound effect I need for how you pronounce Elphaba's name.
What? It's Alphaba, isn't it?
No, it's Elphaba.
Oh, my gosh. You know what? You know how to pronounce that? Whatever. Like what you like. I cannot with Wicked. I don't like the songs. I don't like the look of it. I don't like anything
The
about it.
songs are iconic. What are you talking about?
Don't like them.
Well, I'm going to go see this, and I'm excited.
Ariana Grande do that, whatever she does. And I don't mind Ariana Grande, but if I have to hear that one more time,
whatever she does, like, are you like the...
Yes, I wasn't going to do that.
That's not Ariana Grande. That's Cynthia doing
whoever
that.
it is. Tired of it.
Okay.
Tired of it. I didn't know Cynthia could sing like that. Good for her. Good for her. And you know what? This is probably going to be all over the Oscars, and I'm going to have to watch. That's your weekend watch list. Now, this weekend is an absolutely monumental matchup in college football. Quite possibly the biggest game of the year. It's definitely up there. Ohio State hosts Indiana, a top 5 matchup. It is in Ohio State, right? In Columbus?
Yes, I believe so.
At the, what do they call it? The
Shoe. Come on. You've lived in Ohio for how many years now?
I don't know. I just don't want to mix things up. What do they call it? The big house? They call it the big house in Ohio State.
No.
Ohio State against Indiana. Now, I don't want to get that mixed up, but what I do want to throw a little conspiracy theory at you here.
Okay.
About the game this weekend.
Okay.
See what you think of this. What do you think the chances are? Obviously, the game will be played fairly among the two teams. Mm-hmm. But maybe the referees get a little phone call from whoever the Big Ten commissioner is. And the commissioner with a voice changer, but we know it's a commissioner. He says to the referees, he's like, hey, guys, can you just like maybe tilt the tables a little bit towards Indiana? Because if they lose, they might not make the playoff. Mm-hmm. But if they win, Ohio State's not getting left out. So we can get Indiana and Ohio State and Penn State for some reason and Oregon all into the playoff if we just make it so that Indiana maybe has a chance to win. You think that call could be made?
I don't think that call will be made. I think the Big Ten commissioner has a little bit more integrity than that. But also, I do think no matter what the outcome is, it's good for the Big Ten because you're going to have good football teams in the playoff, obviously. But also, why do you think he would want to go against his biggest brand, which is the Ohio State Buckeyes?
Because his biggest brand is going to be in regardless.
I don't know if I would guarantee that.
Ohio State could lose 56-0.
No.
And they'd still be like, well, it's Ohio State.
No.
They only have 2 losses.
That's not true.
They beat Penn State. We've got to put them in.
That's not true.
That is 100%. I don't care. I mean, we'll never know. But Ohio State could lose. Them and Alabama are the two. They can do no wrong in the committee's eyes. And Ohio State, especially in a 12-team playoff, how are you going to leave out Ohio State? You can't. They're not going to do it, even if they lost. So I think that but Indiana, they may or may not get in if they lose tomorrow. But they definitely will not get it, or they definitely would get in if they beat Ohio State, of course.
Right, obviously. But I don't think that it's as cut and dry as you make it seem if Ohio State were to lose to Indiana, because at that point it would be like, who have they beaten? They've beaten Penn State, but that's it. And so I don't think it would be as easy as you think to be like Ohio State makes it in. So I, as an Ohio State fan, would much prefer if they just, left no doubt in the committee's mind and just ran the table through the rest of their schedule. Well,
obviously I'm rooting for Indiana. I hope they pull off the upset. And I don't know if Indiana can do it because they just really have not played anybody. And as much as I hate Ohio State, I don't think they're not good. I just don't like them. But I think that game and many others, I think this is more likely to happen. This could be a bit of a chaotic weekend in college football, because you've got a lot of the teams that should be, especially in the SEC, should be shoo-ins for the playoff at this point, or at least it looks like they'll make it if they just win out. They're looking ahead, maybe. They're on the road. Ole Miss going on the road to Florida. Alabama going to Oklahoma, for example. These are teams that might be able to make the playoff, but they're going on the road and they've got rivalry matchups ahead. They're feeling themselves. They're like, hey, we're going to be in the playoff. We're good.
Trap games.
Yeah. So I think some eyes could be drifting ahead a little prematurely.
Yeah, and that always does happen towards this time of the year. There's always those weird November weeks where we see a lot of upsets, although we have had some weekends with some crazy upsets already. So this may not end up being one of those weekends. But the upset that I would love to see, I'd love to see Army at 10-0.
That would be... I mean, you have to be a little anti-American, don't you, to cheer against Army? I think they're probably going to get blown out, though.
Probably, but I would love to see them at 10-0.
Yeah, that'd be fun. Army and Indiana in the playoff. Who would expect that? Aha! It is time for Love 'Em or Leave 'Em on the Hudson Show. if ever you run into any relationship issues you'd like some help with, we're here. In this case, we have someone who says, "Hi, Hudson and Allie," and the show's followers and fans. "I need some advice. My husband and I have been together for 6 years, married for 3, and while I love him dearly, I'm starting to feel like I'm married to a 70-year-old man in a 26-year-old's body.
Oh, no.
He's got this boomer energy that he's fully leaning into, and I don't know how to handle it. For example, he makes these painfully unfunny dad jokes to everyone, like telling the mailman, 'Hope there's no bills today.' The postman didn't even laugh. He just stared at him. It's excruciating to witness, but my husband is so proud of himself for these little zingers. Then there's his bedtime. If we're out past 9 p.m., he gets cranky and complains about how late it is. I'm 25. I still want to have fun sometimes. But nope, he's always asking if we can go home early because, quote, it's getting late or traffic will be bad tomorrow. I tried telling him that it's only going to get harder to make and maintain friends. This is smart. I tried telling him that it's only going to get harder to make and maintain friends as we get older, and that we should sacrifice staying out a little later if it means building social bonds and relationships. But he just brushes it off. I don't want to spend my whole life eating dinner at 5 and being in bed by 9. Is there a way to talk to him about this without making him feel bad or defensive? I love him and want to include him in things. Anybody been through this or has any good advice to share on when your husband starts acting a little too old, a little too early in life? 8772 Radio U. Chime in with your thoughts on this love him or leave him situation. We'll see if we can help out. We'll start with Shrew, who says, go without him, compromise on things, and decide what you can do together outside of that. Blame his dad for the dad jokes, but it's not likely he'll change those unless you can come back with your own to an extreme that makes even him roll his eyes or cringe.
Ooh, I like that idea.
Yeah.
Out dad him.
I like that. That sounds like a challenge. John says, sounds like that's how he was raised. It's a reflection of his childhood. And now that he's an adult, it seems like he thinks that's how life is. However, he is married and needs to realize that when scripture says that two become one, that means a give and take in all things and not just his side only. Sounds like he needs to stay up past midnight come New Year's Eve. The one time of year.
Just that once.
Yeah. Let's see. What else do we have here coming through? Hold on a second. We have Bethany, who says this whole situation sounds like it can be avoided by not seemingly relying on your husband to have fun. Go out and do things with your friends and leave him at home in bed. Just don't do anything stupid when you're out.
Okay. Yeah.
Where do you stand on this one?
I gotta be honest, I am on the guy's side, mainly because when she described the whole, I don't want to live a life where I eat dinner at 5 and be in bed by 9, that is my life.
Ooh, it hit a little close to home.
It was like, ooh, yikes. And not every night, but for the most part on weeknights, that is my life. And it's mainly because of my job. Obviously, I got to get up pretty early in the morning. So I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing, especially, hey, you're a young couple now that don't have kids, but when you do have kids, you're going to be begging to be able to go to bed as soon as you can because you're going to be so sleep deprived. So, I think it's important to compromise in a relationship, obviously. So there should be some times where he's willing to go have fun and do things, but then there's also should be times where you're like, okay, yeah, no, we can stay at home tonight and enjoy being together and getting an early night.
Yeah, I think I agree with Shrew. There's nothing you can do about the dad jokes. You're just going to have to roll your eyes as hard as you can.
Or out dad him.
Yeah. But I think I do like the people that are saying that you don't, just because you're married doesn't mean you have to do everything together. Yeah. So it's a compromise to sometimes to make him stay out later than he wants to. That's a compromise he can make, but it's also a compromise you guys can make that sometimes you just get to go out and hang out with your friends or do whatever you want to do on a whatever night. Just, again, don't do anything stupid. I like that. You don't have to go to bed at the same time when you're married.
Yeah, no.
I don't know who made that rule.
No rule about that for sure. Obviously, we don't encourage people to, have completely separate lives as far as when you're married. But yeah, having a girls' night, going out and doing some fun things with your friends, that still should happen when you're married.
It actually might be good for your marriage to have that independence.
Exactly.
You don't want to too much meld into the same person. That could be problematic too. So
yeah,
I do think this is. We're an interesting group to be answering this question because our bedtimes are so early.
Yeah, we're like, we go to bed at 9 every night.
Even I, waking up at what nonsense hour I do, I still find time, for Mrs. Hudson to stay up late sometimes.
Yeah.
I can do that as long as I get a nap earlier in the day. Two of Allie's great loves are coming together. Reality TV and Toys R Us.
Two of my great loves?
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever mentioned Toys R Us one time.
I can tell by looking at you. You love Toys R Us. Although Toys R Us, rightly, you may rightly remember Toys R Us filing for bankruptcy.
Yes.
Years ago. It closed all of its stores. But since then, slowly and surely, Toys R Us has been making a bit of a comeback. It's been on the comeback trail. If you go to some department stores, I can't remember if it's Macy's or JCPenney or some of those other stores that you're surprised are still in business, they have little Toys R Us sections inside. That's led to Toys R Us, some stores actually opening up. I believe you go to that giant mall in New Jersey, whatever it's called, they've got a Toys R Us there. Anyways, all of that has led to this. A Toys R Us reality competition series is in development where families will compete inside a giant, they say a larger than life version of the iconic toy store, Toys R Us.
Oh.
No word on where this will be on TV or streaming. No word on when it will be ready, but it is coming.
I wonder if it's going to be like a supermarket sweep type of show.
Oh, now you're starting to talk me into thinking this is going to be fun.
Well,
I used to like
sweep is one of my favorite shows.
The new version, not as good.
Not as good.
With the gal from Saturday Night Live. What's her name?
Leslie, I can't remember her last name.
Leslie something.
Yeah.
That was okay. Okay, but the old version with David, whatever his name is, and his crazy sweaters,
that was classic.
That is, I know it's very dated, and it does make you feel bad about how expensive groceries have gotten if you go watch the old supermarket sweep, because they're like a box of macaroni, 12 cents, and it's like, no. But it's still fun to watch.
Yeah.
But if they can capture some of that magic with a Toys R Us competition, then maybe this is a reality show I can get behind.
Yeah, this might be something I would watch. I don't typically watch the game shows as much as I watch the bad reality TV, which is like the other type of competitions like The Bachelor or something. But that would get me invested for sure if it was something like Supermarket Sweep.
Maybe they can get David, whatever his name was, from the old supermarket sweep to host this.
That would be awesome.
Either him or actually Jeffrey the giraffe would be the best.
Ooh, yeah. It's like a Big Bird situation.
Yeah. Maybe get him to dress up as Jeffrey the giraffe. I think that is a show I would watch.
Yep.
They call it Toys R Us Family Face Off. We don't know where it will be, when it will be, but it will be. Just over here making myself mad, imagining a guy that doesn't exist. A guy that you're at the gym and he's walking around to everybody telling them that they're doing the exercises wrong.
Those are the worst people.
Yeah. Nobody would actually do that though, right?
I would hope not.
That would be a horrible guy.
Yeah.
If you're at the gym and you're on the thing with the pull down bars. I don't know what the things are called.
Yeah.
Here's what would happen. I don't go to the gym. I would do exercises wrong. I would be using the machines wrong, but I'd rather do them wrong than have some guy unsolicited come up and tell me that I'm doing it wrong and try to correct me.
No one wants that advice.
Nobody wants that. But if I could afford it, I probably would like a personal trainer. If I'm going to go to the gym anyways, I might as well have somebody that can actually tell me how to do the exercises right. Because it is dangerous for some exercises to do them the wrong way.
Yep.
And even if not, you're wasting your time and effort if you're doing them wrong, because it's not going to build muscle or accomplish whatever you want to accomplish if you're not doing it the way it's meant to be done.
Right.
You might as well have a personal trainer there with you to show you what to do. I think that's true for life too. Many of us, you can just show up at the gym and start doing exercises. It doesn't mean it's going to help you. You can go through life and make it through life, but it doesn't mean that you're going to be actually accomplishing anything. It doesn't mean that you're actually going to be you might be able to make it through situations. It doesn't mean that you're actually getting through them the best way. God wants to not come in and just give you a bunch of unsolicited advice, but whenever you ask, whenever you're ready to turn to God and say, hey, I'm going through this and I could actually use some help with it. I could use some guidance. I could use some, a GPS for this situation. God will be that for you. Jesus is ready to walk with you through every single day of your life and give you the help you need, give you that someone you can turn to that actually has good advice and isn't just going to butt in though whenever, when you're really not looking for it. God is ready to be there for you. All you need to do is ask. Say, hey, Jesus, come on and be my personal trainer for life, and he'll do it. You want to know more? Check out radiou.com/free gift. A few minutes ago, we were talking about Jeffrey the giraffe, the mascot of Toys R Us. It sounds like if we're not careful, soon enough, Jeffrey the giraffe will be the only giraffe we have left. That is what the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service is claiming after they've announced a proposal to add giraffes to the Endangered Species Act. Apparently, giraffe populations have experienced a dramatic decline in Africa and has become so severe that the U.S. government is starting to take action to protect the animals. I don't know how we're involved. This is a different continent entirely, but we're going to do what we can.
Yeah, we're going to try and help out as much as possible. But I'm not entirely shocked to see this, as there's just been a decrease in wildlife overall in Africa. As a person that grew up there and, visited so many national parks that have amazing animals that are in their natural habitat, it's sad to see something like this, in all honesty.
What is, so you've seen giraffes in the wild.
Yeah.
What is going on that's making the giraffes disappear?
So I'm not entirely sure what would be causing this, if it's poaching or if it...
What would you take from a giraffe?
I don't know if it's the tufts on the top of their head, if that might be something that poachers want. Poaching has been...
Maybe like neck bones. They've got a lot of them.
Right.
So I don't know what we need them for.
Who knows? It could also be for their pelts, They have a very unique fur. And
they're sorry to interrupt, but their meat... Maybe the meat, it's very good.
It could be that. There's all sorts of reasons why poaching, unfortunately, takes place at really high rates all across Africa. For the longest time, it was against rhinos and elephants to get the ivory. So that has been something, thankfully, that was really the high rates of that have been stopped, and partially because they were on that, Endangered Species Act list. So maybe by adding giraffes to that can help stop potential threats to their population in Africa. I do know one of the problems with giraffes, and this is just their genetics, and unfortunate with how their anatomy works, but they do die quite early in life for what they think they should live to, and that's mainly because it does take their heart a lot of effort to get blood to their brain because of how high their neck is.
That's unfortunate, but nothing we can do about that.
Nothing that can be done about that specifically, but there's problems.
I was also I'm trying to think, like, what if it's not poaching, right? What if there's other reasons? Maybe, just as maybe Africa continues to develop more cities, more population. I thought giraffes are getting hit by cars a lot. Then I thought, no, the cars probably just drive right under them. So it's not that big of a deal. But maybe like deforestation type thing, like they're losing their habitat. That's probably.
Deforestation is definitely a big problem. I know their favorite tree is the acacia tree in Africa, and that tree sometimes can be also a popular one to get the wood from. So
true.
So deforestation could I think also is probably a problem here.
I think that's what we've landed on. We tested a lot of hypotheses.
A lot of theories.
I think it's the deforestation. Have you ever fed a giraffe?
I have.
Yeah, me too. It's fun, huh?
Yeah, I mean, they have very interesting tongues. We'll just say that.
It was worth all the $3 I spent to do it or whatever it was.
I got to do mine for free.
We have not stopped talking about giraffes and safaris since we turned the mics off and played Amberlin. Dee had a question, and Allie, maybe you would know since you lived in Africa. Dee says when they take the horns or whatever off the giraffe, do they have to kill them, or can they just do it like they do with cows and take the horns off?
My assumption is they would have to kill them. Here's the thing. Poachers are never going to leave an animal alive. So if you're ever talking about somebody...
You can't have a witness.
Yeah. If you're... right. Well, if you're ever talking about, something where it's a poaching situation where they're already breaking the law, they're not going to leave the animal alive.
That's a good point.
So, you could ask the same thing about, if they took the tusks from the elephants, could they leave them alive?
Yeah.
They never do that.
It's probably easier to just kill them anyways.
I'm sure it's much faster for them to get this, rather than trying to sedate the animal or something,
I'd love to hear about the humane poachers out there.
Yeah, so unfortunately, there's no humane poaching going on.
The Robin Hood of poachers or whatever. Like, he does it the right way, a real stand-up guy.
There's no right way to take the parts of an animal and illegally sell them on the black market.
But I'm fascinated too, because what we were talking about, everybody didn't get to hear that Allie told me that she, when she was growing up, wanted to be a safari tour guide.
I did.
Well, why did you leave that life behind?
Well, I did leave Africa. That was a part of it.
Yeah, not many safaris in the United States.
No,
not as much.
Well, and if they are safaris, they're not real.
Yeah.
You're just going into a caged area where the animals have been
that
brought.
lion. I wasn't expecting that. He's not usually there.
What? There's no surprise in that for sure. But in a real African safari, you never know what you're going to see. It's different every time. So, because it's just the animals in their natural habitat. So, yeah, that probably plays a big role in why I'm not a safari tour guide.
Wow. Is it hard to become a safari tour guide, or is like anybody that has one of those trucks like just allowed to do it?
No, it's hard. You have to get certain certifications for it. Certain certifications, that was a little redundant, but yeah, you have to get certifications for it. You have to know the animals, and you also have to know a lot of the bird species, which there are so many in Africa. It's got one of the most I don't know if vibrant bird life in the world. So yeah, you have to know a lot of information to be able to be a tour guide.
Don't tell Scarlett Johansson. That's why she never goes there. If I was a tour guide, couldn't you just make it up? If somebody's like, "What's that bird?" Just come up with a name.
Well, I would hope you wouldn't be doing that. If you have had to pass a few tests along the way, I'd hope you actually know the information.
I'm going to go to Africa and just start a bootleg safari. I'm going to get none of the certification. I'm going to make up the answers to the questions, and I'm probably going to get gored to death by an elephant.
Yeah, you're not getting licensed by any national parks to do that.
But I don't think the government won't have to stop me. One of the dangerous animals will take care of that long before they get to me. So excited to get to talk to this guy again. From the band, The Myriad. They've got a new song out today. Jeremy from The Myriad, welcome to the show.
Hey, how you doing?
Hey, we're doing great. Looking forward to, Jeremy, the holidays, of course. What do you have coming up with Thanksgiving right around the corner? Do you got any special plans, any special traditions?
Every other year, my family goes up to Bend, Oregon, and it's like a huge family reunion on that side. This year is the year with my wife's family, so I think we're just going to stay here in Redding and have like a big feast with her family. So
yes, that sounds perfect. So you trade off the years then?
We do, yeah. And every now and then I'm like, let's go to Bend twice in a row, and it never works out.
Dang.
Well, Jeremy, I'm a huge sports fan, and so I had to ask you this question. I love different teams that have some pretty awesome mascots, so I thought it'd be cool if you could tell me what, if the Myriad had a mascot, what it would be.
Oh, wow. We maybe this sounds kind of weird, but maybe a wolf. we we actually had an album with Theirs with Poise come out in 2008, and every member of the band had a different like animal skin that they wore, and basically in the artwork of the album, it was all like cartoon depictions of each of us, but I had this wolf skin that I wore, and then there was like a shark and an eagle and all kinds of stuff. So
That actually sounds amazing.
Yeah, that sounds really cool.
I think that there's definitely some space for a band mascot. And actually, I think Allie would probably like to dress up and perform on stage as the mascot.
I don't know about that.
Okay, let's do it.
It's got to happen now. Jeremy, you mentioned, I'm just hearing about this. You casually mentioned it before we started recording, and that is that you've had some like lineup changes with the band. Give me the backstory on that. What's going on?
Yeah, so the band kind of took a long hiatus. Our drummer Randy passed away in 2010, and we basically found out that he had bone cancer like while we were on tour in 2009, and so we paused everything when he was diagnosed, and he fought really hard. He passed away in the fall of 2010, and from then the band just, I mean, for me personally, it kind of took the wind out of my sails when that happened.
Sure.
And we had been hustling on the road for so long, and we had some really great moments and ended on a really high note, as far as like the success of the band. And when Randy got sick and then died, I kind of like, okay, I'm going to put my instrument down for a while. I started focusing on producing music. Scott David, who was the original drummer of the band before Randy joined, he and I, we actually ended up going to a Muse concert together about a year ago. And after the concert on the way home, he was like, "Do you ever miss it?" And I'm like, "Yeah, absolutely." And he's like, "Let's write some songs. Let's release some songs again." And so we got the band back together. And at this point in life, there hasn't been as strong of a connection with me and some of the original members. And so there's different, basically, besides for me and Scott, it's a whole new lineup. So it's been really fun making music with new people and putting out songs again.
Yeah, no, it's exciting. Yeah. And we do have Time, that is brand new, out today, the new single from the Myriad. And I was listening to it ahead of time, Jeremy. And, I guess this is true of Time, but a lot of your music, it has such an epic, like almost a movie trailer, the way it builds. How do you accomplish that? What do you attribute that to, that your music has such an epic sound to it, including Time?
Yeah, I mean, part of the way I write songs is I'm very visual, so my imagination will run wild. So I almost will create this sort of mini movie in my head. Maybe the music video is created before the song's written in some ways. And then I look at the lyric, when I'm arranging and producing the song and working with the guys, it's like, how can we create the perfect canvas for this lyric to sit on? And so there is almost, in my mind, like a cinematic lens to how the music is arranged and how it builds. And so I think they oftentimes will kind of sound movie soundtrack-esque.
Thanks for taking some time with us and getting the backstory on what's been going on with the Myriad, and happy holidays to you too.
You too, man. Thanks.
Thanks for listening to The Hudson Show. Please don't forget to rate and review the podcast.